Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. We are live on Spreaker, and we live for the rest of the week on the podcast until we replace the podcast with another live show.
But the old show is still there.
There you go. We have a full house in the Hilltop Studios tonight. We are joined by...
I'm a Surefire.
And Uncle Bachi.
And Uncle Labachi. Miss Surefire?
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Oh, is today your birthday?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Today is Miss Surefire's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
She celebrated by going to the gun store and getting all of her armament cleaned.
And I even picked up a new piece.
There you go.
Can't have enough guns or jewelry.
Not after this election. So here, we'll talk about that later. We are all over the social media as Doc Owen Show. DOCOWENSHOW. We have a blog by the same name at a .com, docowenshow.com. And we have a free app for both the Apple and Android devices, which is a really handy-dandy little way to listen to the show at your leisure and to spread the wealth, to allow others to listen to the show, which we greatly appreciate. We always start the show in a very traditional manner after those little self-serving announcements. And Ms. Surefire gives us a moment of inspiration, an inspirational quote. Uncle Bachi tells us about this point in history, this day in history, and I close it out with some sort of a leadership quote. So, Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote comes from the site that I think I quoted from a week or so ago too as well. It's called wisdomquotes.com. Yes.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. And tonight's quote comes from a gentleman that I hadn't heard of, but maybe some folks have. His name was Charles Bukowski.
Brukowski?
Bukowski.
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 Of the Bukowskis.
Yes.
Of the New Jersey Bukowskis.
I don't know. It said he was a German-born American. Like he, immigrated.
Okay.
The proper channels.
Well, as far as we know.
Yes. Looks like it.
Yep.
And he was a poet, novelist, and short story writer. So he did a lot of writing.
Got it.
And his quote is, "Genius might be the ability to say a profound thing in a simple way."
Absolutely.
Would you mind repeating that?
Sure. Genius might be the ability to say a profound thing in a simple way.
Yes.
Awesome. I'm a genius. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
A profound thing.
A profound. Oh, well, I can be pretty profound, but. Oh no, I was thinking of profane.
Oh,
Profane.
I thought you were thinking about something else. I was like, I don't know. This is a family-oriented show.
So far it is. All right, Uncle Bachi, what happened today?
Today
in yesteryear.
In yesteryear, 1775, Washington decided that he needed to make militias into a military. They were having a problem with the individual colonies having their own militias, and neither one of them, no one state didn't want the other state and all that kind of thing. So he tried to get them organized into an army. And also today,
I hear the primary concern and complaint was the color of the stripe going down the leggings of the military. They couldn't agree.
You heard that, didn't you?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, in 1864, Lincoln was reelected.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
that's it.
Okay, so for the leadership quote tonight, I have none. And that is absolutely intentional.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, so I'll give you a little story. For those of you in the audience who have a 2-year-old child, or for those of you who have ever had a 2-year-old child, the 2-year-old standard issue when they're born, they're issued a standard temper tantrum that they hold on to until they're 2, when they finally learn how to say no, and they throw temper tantrums. Okay?
Like, can't you hear me? I said no, that kind of thing? Or?
They just they throw temper tantrums.
Oh,
That's what they do. Right? Mm-hmm. Hold that thought as we go through the show.
I think I know where you're going.
That's the leadership quote for tonight.
Okay, good. I like it.
Okay.
Right. So we do have needless to say, besides being Miss Surefire's birthday, it is also the day after a national election, in case you're not aware. So if you're listening to this over the weekend, it's a couple of days, but, we broadcast on Thursday night. We create our podcast on Thursday night. So do the math whenever you're listening to it and make that an appropriate statement. A few days ago, we had a major national election, right? Most everybody knows the results. We may talk about some things tonight in terms of the results that you may not be aware of, all right? And all sorts of other things having to do with what just went on and what to expect in the coming days, weeks, months, years, all right? So before we dive into the meat and potatoes of it, Uncle Bocce, what historical words of wisdom have you for us this evening?
Tonight we're going to continue a little bit on Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, boy.
Primarily what his thought process was due to him being a progressive crusader.
What we think his thought process was.
Right.
What scholars have told us.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm going to give you are some interesting things that you really need to understand. I've said this before. Why did Roosevelt, when he came back from Africa, why did he scorn William Taft? There was a reason for that, because he didn't like that's why he ran again on the Progressive Party. Okay. So this is what influenced Theodore Roosevelt.
So he was fine till he went to Africa, and then.
Yeah, because he didn't know what was going on.
Oh.
You see, he went to Africa for a whole year on a safari. He came back and he thought, what a mess this guy is making, even though he had wanted him to be the president, his successor. Anyway, so he got this information from a gentleman named Herbert Crowley. We've talked about him before. He is America's equivalent to Marx and Hegel.
Oh, okay.
The same thought process.
Okay.
But he wasn't American. And the book that he wrote. Yeah.
Okay.
The book that he wrote, The Promise of American Life, and that heavily influenced Theodore Roosevelt. What some of the tenets that it held is, and that Roosevelt went for, is that the American concept of exceptionalism was very naive. Okay?
He thought that it was naive?
He thought that it was naive, yes.
That he was the only one who was exceptional?
I guess that's probably true. And he felt that it was time for America to be part of the larger, or the world movement.
Jeez.
Okay? Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Now, while he didn't implement any of this stuff, this was his thinking, though. He wanted America to move beyond the shop-worn protection of individual rights, especially property rights. Okay?
I'm not liking your message very much.
I know you're not, because I'm speaking ill of a very famous and loved American president.
Well,
and
no,
as president, he was. But-
I didn't love him because of his policies. I loved him,
Yeah.
I liked him because he was colorful.
Yes. Yeah, that he was. He was. He was bigger than life, like
Right.
we said last week. Right. Okay? Some of the other things, he concluded that the whole idea of natural rights was scientifically wrong. He rejected the idea of natural rights. He said human beings could progress beyond their selfish individualism. Okay, that's important too, because the conservative view of things is that we are individuals. The right to property could be justified only if it benefited the community. And the way to benefit the community was to redistribute wealth. It's hard to believe that such a great man actually believed in these things. Okay? The task of the government was not simply to enforce the rule of law, but to bring about social justice through redistribution. Okay? You seeing the pattern? Okay. He observed that the new nationalism implied a policy of a far more active governmental interference with social and economic conditions in this country. He denied that his reforms were meant to bring about socialism, and that's what you hear about today. You hear when somebody talks about progressivism, they said it's just socialism. So.
Well, what were they meant to bring about, if not socialism?
They weren't meant to bring about anything, but it depends on who you're talking to. What progressivism wanted to do was to really ignore the past.
Yeah.
And just go forward, okay?
That's what they always wanted to do.
Yeah. He meant by socialism, what he meant by socialism was the Marxist variety. He supported a peaceful, gradual transition to democratic socialism. Believe it or not, it's not something new. He had with the promise of social justice.
What year was this?
This was in 1900s, 1901.
Okay.
Yeah, in that area between then and the turn of the century. Okay. Gradual transition to to democratic socialism and social justice. The nationalism to him was the expansion of federal government's regulatory powers to deal with problems mostly at that time of industrial capitalism. Okay? Mm-hmm. Direct elections of senators, he believed that it should be to give more power to the people. So he said. Judicial recall, okay, that this was a period of a deliberation and to debate to overturn court decisions on public policy. His reforms were designed to restore, so he said, constitutional government. You see the twisted thinking here? He still believes that this is going to be constitutional, though he meant something very different. People must tear down their barriers to their will and become their own masters. Not even the Constitution can be allowed to stand in their way. TR now meant what would later be called the living Constitution. You see, all of these things, I thought that it was Woodrow Wilson.
I did too.
And Woodrow Wilson was
you
all
sure
of this.
You didn't transpose your notes?
Nope, I didn't.
I
never understood Theodore Roosevelt in light of his progressivism. Okay, I never. But so I've discovered all of this stuff, and it's really changing my outlook on history.
I think his trip to Africa needs to be investigated.
I think it does too. Yeah, let's do that. He called for a new contract with the people that, in effect, would supersede the social contract theory of the Declaration of Independence.
Okay.
He wanted a whole new contract with the people.
So let's start cutting to the chase.
Yeah,
How much more you got? I'm convinced.
just a couple more statements.
He was a scallywag. I'm convinced.
Okay. Okay.
You got anything that'll change my mind?
I don't think so. Unlike the Declaration, which asserts that people enter into a compact to form a government, that will secure their inalienable rights. The contract envisioned Roosevelt is between the people and their government. Okay, there's nothing else. It's just them and the government.
Yeah, I definitely want that Africa trip. He was gone for a year.
Yes, for a whole year.
Yes, yeah.
He believed that the government could create new powers, like citizens are entitled to new rights given by the government that are created by the state, in other words. For the first time, government will actively promote Social Security. He didn't mean what the Social Security is, okay?
Right.
By distributing fairly the burdens of illness, unemployment, and old age.
Well, what he meant was exactly what it is, and that's why Social Security got its name like it did.
Yes.
It was intended as a security blanket
right.
for the social fabric of the country.
Yep.
I mean, I got it, which is not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. So until his death in January of 1919, he continued to...
Who followed him as president? What happens next?
William Taft.
And then Woodrow Wilson.
And then Woodrow Wilson.
Okay, so there was one in between. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Progressive reforms that would move the country closer to social democrats of Europe. So this was already going on.
That's what I was just about to say. I think in that African trip that he was either
stung by a bee.
Somebody took over a German philosopher took over his body, or certainly traveled with him on a day-to-day basis.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it just doesn't. I'd like to know. I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It's so far off the path of what we've been led to believe.
Yes.
And therefore, I mean, when I say led to believe, taught about where this guy came from and who he was and yada yada yada.
Right. Right.
Don't you agree?
I agree absolutely.
Okay.
I agree absolutely.
Okay.
Just let me finish here with two of his quotes. One of them was, "Whatever I think is right for me to do, I do. I do the things that ought to be done, and when I make up my mind to do a thing, I act." Now that was probably that's very much like Trump today. I mean, that's
but that's also counter to all the philosophies you just told us.
Exactly.
So
But
he's a lying son of a bitch.
Yeah, there you go. And the other one, which everybody in the world knows, speak softly and carry a big stick.
Yeah,
that was his too.
Well,
Okay.
I learned that because I have my height. Okay, so what? Who are you?
I am Uncle Bachi, UNCLEBACI at DocOwenShow.com.
Thank you,
There we
Uncle
go.
Bachi.
Thank you.
That was absolutely no fun whatsoever.
I know. It was fun for me, though.
Man, that's tough.
It's interesting.
That
I
was
know.
a tough lesson.
Yeah, just flip.
Yes, absolutely. I just couldn't believe that. I didn't even know that until I started researching him.
Okay, let me switch gears on you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So we had an election yesterday, or a few days ago, depending on when you're listening to it, right? The previous Tuesday.
Right.
And it was historic in a number of ways. Somewhat historic. It's been a long time since the two houses of Congress were split by the votes of the country.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If you're not aware, the way it stands right now, and the reason I say that is because there are 10 Democrat House victories that are going to court to have the results validated in terms of
That makes me happy.
voter fraud, in terms of they were just too close for comfort. So
Exactly.
they're going to court.
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to be. Let's put it this way: there's 10 victories that are going to be called into question. That are being called into question. That's number one. Number two, so the Democrats, the liberals, the progressives, whatever you want to call them, they took over the House of Representatives. I'll explain to you, if you don't already know, what that has a tendency to mean. Okay? The Senate, on the other hand, the Republicans gained even more strength.
Yes, they did.
The Conservative Party, even more strength in the Senate.
Yes.
All right. So think about the government in general. All right. We have, in the United States, we have 2 houses of Congress. I guess I'm not all that familiar, but it vaguely sounds, it's kind of like Parliament where they have 2 different houses. They have 2 different sections, right? And in the United States, the Senate is referred to as what? The upper house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you know why it was?
Go ahead.
I'll tell you why. Because
'Cause
in
they
the
were
building,
upstairs.
No, yeah, in the building
Right.
where they met,
It was
Senate was upstairs and the other guys were downstairs.
Okay.
Okay.
And
good.
the House of Representatives is referred to often as the lower house of Congress.
Right.
Right? And they're going to act out exactly those phrases. There's a thing going on right now, which is the largest trending hashtag on Twitter. All right. If you don't know what that means when you put a pound sign in front of a phrase, that pound is called a hashtag, and the phrase after it is something you can key into Twitter and follow the conversation, because everybody who has something to say about it puts in this hashtag boom, blah blah blah, blah, right? Mm-hmm. We put in hashtags for our show to get visibility in those conversations for the Doc Owen show. All right?
Right.
What's the largest trending hashtag right now? Right? Showtime. 15, 20 minutes ago.
Impeachment. Nope.
Maybe close.
Is that Mueller?
Protect Mueller.
Mueller. Yeah.
Protect Mueller.
Yes.
There are nationwide protests going on and have been going on since I don't know when, but certainly all day. Then, and the hashtag and the point of the protest is to protect Mueller. All right.
Amazing.
Within 24 hours of Jeff Sessions resigning, Democrats won the House, which is, remember, the lower house of Congress. Then Jeff Sessions resigned at the request of the president. And within 24 hours, we have these Protect Mueller protests.
Absolutely.
The reason I told the story about the 2-year-old instead of a leadership quote was we are in for, if you know anything at all about the Kavanaugh protests that went on when Kavanaugh and all the fake lying nonsense that was put up to try to prevent him from becoming a Supreme Court justice, most of whom have recanted their stories by now. And if you're not familiar, recanted means taken back their stories about his sexual abuse. Within 48 hours of the election, within 24 hours of the election, I think, the protests have started.
That's correct.
Nationwide. All right? These lower house monkeys are up in arms, trying to, because Sessions has left, so now we've got an interim director who has the first thing that he did was take away the Mueller investigation from the guy and took it away from Rosenstein and put it on his plate. But we're going to have daily, weekly, monthly, 2 years at least until 2020. We're going to have 2 years worth of temper tantrums.
There you go.
All over the news.
Yeah.
I want to know, I would like to know the official time and date that the first Protect Mueller protest was launched. And then when all of the protests are over in 2020 or something, I want the Guinness Book of World Records out there to clock it, because this is going to be the longest 2-year-old temper tantrum in the world.
2-year-old.
Forever.
Get it. Boy, he connects the dots, doesn't he? Awesome.
That's exactly what it's going to be.
Yeah,
That's all it's going to be. The subject matter may change, but it's going to be a daily temper tantrum over something.
Now, that is profound. So you must be a genius, right?
No, I mean,
No,
it's
seriously.
just, I can't, it just started so early.
Yeah.
I mean,
They didn't,
you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I predicted this the minute that the election was over, and I thought I'd have time to get it on the radio, and people would go, "Oh, he's crazy." And then the next day, the Protect Mueller would start. But no, I mean, they
already had it planned.
They had it totally planned. Yeah. They just didn't know what the topic was. You know, they had all their little placards made up. You know, hashtag, and then they fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's amazing. It was they had 194,000 people or 100 Twitter tweets at airtime on Protect Mueller. And the other thing is they're all using the Protect Mueller hashtag to join into the conversation, and most of them are putting their pictures up there and saying this is what democracy looks like. I mean, they're. I'm serious.
Some people are just plain stupid.
Now, the best one on here that both of you guys, when we were doing the show prep, I let out an expletive, and both of these guys said,
At which time?
What is it? And I said, nothing. I don't want to spoil the show. So one of these Protect Mueller people, all right?
I already know where this is going.
Who's real proud of, what they're doing, all right? He said, did we sit down and shut up when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? No, we
The
didn't.
Germans. Oh yeah!
How smart.
Wow.
And he
When
thought
did Asians start looking like Germans.
He
and
thought he
vice
was like
versa?
being really profound, and it had to be the Germans because that's who we went to war with.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
Or other.
I mean,
It's not that he just
if-
don't want to offend the Japanese.
if you think that they have not had their heads filled with mush, you, my friend, are being very naive. Because they may well have been told that, yes, it was the Japanese that did it, but the Germans paid for it and put them up to it.
You need to watch Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, I was absolutely flabbergasted. Did we sit down and shut up when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? No, you can see him lifting his arms like, no, I'm not going to stand for it.
God,
The whole thing.
Hard to believe.
So I'm gonna make you a promise. I'm gonna try really hard to stick to it. For the next 2 years, trust me, there will be plenty of. I mean, there'll be a protest of the hour, day by day by day. They're just because they think they now are in control. I got news for them. They're in the lower house. They're not in control of jack.
that's right.
The administration and any administrative appointments are approved by a Republican-controlled Senate,
That's correct.
which means judges, which means,
Cabinet.
everything you can think of.
Yeah.
Now, the House they do control the ability to investigate. It's going to be the investigation of the day. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be absolute rampant nonsense. So the only way that the Daco and Show is going to cover these events is if we can see some humor in it.
That should be easy.
Actually, it will be very easy.
Yeah,
So we're
just
going to
pick
bring you
one.
the humorous side so that you don't get too involved and too wrapped up and have a nervous breakdown over the next couple of years. Mm-hmm. We're going to bring you the humorous side of these activities, just like we did the Germans bombing Pearl Harbor. And
Wow.
it's true. It's out there on go to the Twitter feed. And we're also going to try to focus on what needs to be done for 2020. In other words, at the same time that they are protesting, we need to be strategizing and figuring out how to implement a strategy that will carry forward and continue what we're trying to do. That may or may not be winning the House. I mean, quite frankly, the way I see it right now, correct me if I'm wrong, who cares who's in charge of the House? Mm-hmm. I mean, who cares?
Right.
It's not, even if we're in charge of the House, they're not going to sit down and shut up.
Right.
They're a 2-year-old with a tantrum.
There you go.
I don't know. if
They're not going to do
shut
what
up.
you tell them, I mean, they're laying on the floor screaming, kicking, and yelling. You can tell them to go to their room, and what do? What do they do? You've had 2-year-olds. What do? Do you remember?
Yeah, stomp on the ground, cry, run in the other room, yelling and screaming.
They tantrum louder.
That's right.
They do what is currently called doubling down.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when you try to correct them, they just get louder and madder and uglier.
So just ignore him then. What happens if you ignore him?
They triple
I don't
down.
have no children, but common sense would tell me.
Common
Just
sense.
ignore him.
Common sense would be correct.
Okay.
Common sense would be totally correct. If they're not getting the attention that they are looking for by throwing the tantrum, then it stops.
Yeah. That would
That's
make
what
sense.
used to always be about the news media. Don't put it on the news. Don't call attention to it. Excuse me.
Yes, so.
Bless
Excuse me.
you.
Here.
Bless you.
No, excuse me. No, okay. Buddha. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I gotta
And
get,
bless
back-
you some more, I guess.
gotta
He's
get
back
my-
together.
Get my brain back in sync. All right. So we're going to try to take a humorous approach, and if you can help us with that,
Oh,
via
yeah.
the Daco and Show page, Facebook page, or the Daco and Show blog, or
Twitter,
Twitter.
Facebook,
I mean,
email, yada, yada, yada. There's no way that you would not be able to get a hold of us.
that's exactly right.
That's right.
On multiple platforms. So if you as a member of the audience needs to look for the humor in what you're seeing, the stupidity in what you're seeing, and point that out. You know what I'm saying? Do not approach any of these people because they're dangerous when they're in this mode.
That's right.
But
That's true.
I mean,
I even felt the
certainly
sense
don't
when-
approach them with a logical, "Would you please be quiet?"
Oh,
Even when we went to eat supper, I could feel the tension in the people behind us.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I thought, you throw that first fork, it's over. I've got connections in this city.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, that's why Uncle Bachi was constantly having to say, "What'd you say?" Because I don't want to talk too loudly. Well, you don't. I mean, you just don't, because they think they're in charge. They're not, but they think they are. Mm-hmm. So our job is to look for the humor in the. I don't consider what happened a catastrophe by any stretch of the imagination.
no.
I do think that the conservatives made some strategic errors here and there. Just for your information, if you're not familiar, Beto lost. And one of the, well, because we spent an inordinate amount of time on that race and on what was going on in that race, and actually we looked for the humor in it too, and there was a lot. Have you seen there was there's a guy that ran for Congress. If you even paid attention on the national level, it made the national news. Was Beto O'Rourke's run against Senator Ted Cruz. Okay, well, I mean a lot of it made the national news whether you're in Texas or not, right? So one of the things that showed up on Facebook today was a picture of O'Rourke, and it said, "Hey, Louisiana, my name is Beto," and it was spelled Beteaux, which is the Cajun version of Beto.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny. So, what else? So, what humor have you seen, Bachi? What I mean? Can you wrap your mind around what I'm saying, the thought that I'm putting out there?
I can absolutely. And
okay.
So yeah, it's 2 years, and the tantrum. You're absolutely you hit that one on the head.
That's what it's going to be. It's just going to be it's going to be Judge Kavanaugh on steroids, and I mean they're gonna throw everything they've got out there to obstruct the administration and the operation of the government.
That's right.
I mean, they're going to investigate. They now have the power to call investigations and to subpoena people. I mean, it's just going to be a dog and pony show day after day after day after day. I don't see how they're possibly going to get anything of value done, constructive.
No, absolutely not.
I feel sorry. No, I don't. I don't know how I feel. I have sympathy for the administration because it's going to be an uphill fight. There's absolutely nothing. You know, it's not like Clinton when Clinton had the opposite party in control of the House and the Senate. The days of that, even that level of decorum between the administration and the elected officials.
Yeah. Well, the Republicans helped Bill Clinton's presidency, actually.
Well, they
by
helped
not
each
letting
other.
him go.
Well, they helped each other.
They were mature.
They were. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Man,
Yeah.
You have birthday more often. She's on it.
She.
No, I'm just.
They were
like,
mature. They acted maturely. They acted in the
I
best.
think it's pathetic as a nation that you see all these brats, as you would call them, out there. And can you imagine what the other people in the other countries look at us like we're some damn fools trying to run a country? I mean, it's pathetic. Those people need to just get on one big ass ship and just send them out and keep the real Americans here so we can go forward.
Yeah, that's right. I agree.
Well, we're through it kind of early tonight, but because I'm gonna just hit the surefire button. You're absolutely correct. So, what kind of ship are we going to put them on?
Shit, the one that could sink right in the middle of the ocean
like
between the two continents.
A cheap, some kind of an oil derrick or oil, transport.
Or just put them on the New Nina.
What?
The New Nina.
What's the New
What's
Nina?
that?
Well, it's when Columbus came over. The Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa
Maria.
Yeah.
Okay. Told
I
you.
guess he lost a group.
I'm trying to get the humor here, but I guess I don't.
There was one group. He's like, 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh,
He keeps
that's
going
it.
back into history looking for something funny.
Oh, I think of that Bugs Bunny cartoon. The
Okay.
world, she's around. She's not a flat.
Remember that?
Yeah.
I
Say
remember
it again. Okay, but it's not quite so loud, so everybody can.
The world, she's around. She's not a flat.
Good for you.
That's funny.
Well, you should celebrate your birthday more often.
I'm telling you, this is exactly what we're going to try to do for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Is find the humor in what we can find on social media. I don't expect there to be. There might even be some humor on the television.
Yeah, my mother finds a lot too on the Fox network, on the Fox channel.
So speaking of television, you are aware, I'm sure, that one of the reporters from CNN, a fellow by the name of Jim Acosta, got his papers suspended. He's no longer
part of the press corps.
Can come into the room as part of the press corps, right?
Right.
And there's a video on social media that shows him in what is technically assaulting
Yes.
the young lady who tried to take his microphone from him at the request of
Trump.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, he pushed her aside.
And he pushed her aside. Well, CNN, true to form,
Oh, yeah.
said that the White House doctored the video.
It was live, wasn't it?
So,
Okay, anyway. There's humor in that.
well, I've always said, I learned a long time ago, when somebody accuses me of something or thinks I'm doing something wrong, that's how they would act. Do you know what I'm saying? You expect in others what you do. Is another way of putting it.
Pretty much, unless they've had experience with something
But
that brings it up.
But by and large, that's what it is. So I think it's classic that CNN accused the White House of doctoring the video, because that's what they would have done to make the White House look
Everything they say, they do.
The
No,
reverse.
They blame on somebody else.
everything they accuse others of, not
that's
just
it.
what they say.
That's right.
Everything they accuse others of is what they are guilty of.
It's exactly
And it's
right.
not just a CNN trait.
No.
They just happen to be the biggest offender. That's why Trump has singled them out. It's not just them. They are the biggest offender. He knows it. A lot of people in the American public know it. I'm not going to say a vast majority, or they wouldn't still be on the air. And they wouldn't still have supporters. And by the way, his name has been added to the Protect Mueller hashtag.
Who's?
Jim Acosta.
Oh,
In other words, his freedom of speech
yeah.
needs to be protected. He's a journalist acting in the best interest of this country by questioning Trump the way he's questioning
Yeah, he
Trump.
was accosted by Trump.
Yeah, exactly. No pun intended. I knew you'd find some humor. So, keep those cards, gin up those cards and letters and emails and postings to the Facebook page. We will try to find humor. We'll work real hard, and it's, to find other people that think that the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor. I guess what I should do is go back to whoever tweeted that, follow him, right? And get to see his followers, because they're all going to be about the same intelligence.
You'll find a basket full of humor there, I bet.
Yeah.
Not a basket full of deplorables, but a basket full of humor. It's going to be pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
So, do we need to talk about any of the specific results? Do you think that the Doc Owen show needs to add to the fodder of what's already out there? I mean, I can tell you this: I haven't done. I'm reluctant to, because I haven't run the numbers, and I don't like to go off into it until I've really done the research. But I will tell you a piece of research that I'm going to do, and we'll either bring it up next week or put it out on the blog, and that is on a local election basis. And you might do this in your hometown or your home city or your home metropolis or wherever, how big I don't know where all our audience is, but wherever you live, look at the local elections And if it was an urban area, I do know this: 7 of the 8 largest urban metropolitan areas in the state of Texas went Democrat, big time. Mm-hmm. One, Democrats believe in pressing the D, and it's all for one. Here we go. That's just the way they operate. And the Republicans believe, as Uncle Bocce pointed out, in individual rights and individual freedoms, and we're not going to tell you to press the R. You need to go down the entire ballot and choose and pick and being informed and yada yada yada. And the Democrats are just sheep. They just go in there and go D, bye.
Did you going on that 7 blue areas?
Yeah.
Did you notice on the Texas map, the whole border area?
Yeah.
Is blue.
Well, yeah.
The whole border from El Paso all the way to Brownsville.
Not if you only count legal residents.
Oh yeah, well, I mean,
of
course.
If you only count legal voters, exactly. There's counties that nobody showed up. That's why they went out on the streets and said, "Hey, amigo, aquí."
Open border on vote day.
Yeah. You gotta be home when the polls close. So, but those urban areas went. So what I want you to do, I will do with San Antonio, and you do in your hometown. Go back and look at the vote tallies, okay, and see if it was a narrow margin of error, and there were 3 candidates in the race. If there was a Republican and a Democrat and a brand X or a brand Y, maybe, if there were multiple candidates, take what those alternate candidates got. If it was a Libertarian candidate, add that total to the Republican and see if they'd have won.
Yeah.
That's the exercise I'm going to go through. Because we have a splinter group of just over-the-top, ultimate independent thinkers who pride themselves in being anti-anything.
Yes.
That when it comes to conservative thought process in the Republican Party. The tag that the Tea Party almost got, but intelligently said, no, we can't win that way. Right. We have to become part of the Republicans.
Right.
The Libertarians have said, we don't care.
That's right.
We're not doing it. And I'm here to tell you that if you want to beat the Democrats, you're going to have to give up on that philosophy. You're going to have to become a team player.
Yes.
That's
no,
true.
I'm not telling you to change your ideology. I'm telling you to join the team and help the team improve on areas that you think we're not very good. That they're not very good. The Republicans aren't very good. You follow me?
Yes.
So do the homework in your local area and see, because I know what happened last time, and I pointed it out. Matter of fact, I called out one of the heads of the local Libertarian Party in a meeting for it. That they put up candidates that spoil the ability of the Republic because they take away conservative votes.
Yeah, of course.
From the Republican Party. They take it away, and they might as well be voting Democrat because that's what happens. So do that homework for yourself. Look and see, and if it's not true, okay, fine. But if there's an inkling of it that is true, and you are on the conservative side of the fence, I would submit to you that we got 2 years to beat these people into submission.
Well, there's the
and it may be what I mean.
The third party.
I don't mean literally. I mean, you
the
folks know
third
that.
party, whatever they are.
Yeah.
We'll see that with Roosevelt and Wilson.
Yep.
What happened there? We saw it in when Bill Clinton
Yep.
was running first for governor.
Yep.
We had what's his name? The big billionaire.
Ross Perot.
Ross Perot.
He's not big. He's little bitty. He's smaller than I am.
Yeah, and he took from the Republicans and the
Yeah.
Democrats. So that kind of thing is happening through history.
And there was the reason Claire McCaskill lost in Missouri. I happened to be paying close attention to that because I was doing some business dealings with one of the candidates for the Senate seat in Missouri.
Oh, okay.
He's the current Attorney General.
Right.
He won, so
Yes.
he beat Claire McCaskill.
Josh
Howley.
something.
Howley.
Josh Howley.
Right. So about a week before the election, there was a Libertarian candidate in there too.
Yes.
And about a week before the election, the Libertarian candidate said, "I'm out.
Which was a smart thing to do. You should have done it earlier.
I'm not running, but I will throw my support to Josh." So the Libertarian voters, okay, here we go. Some of them, and it helps, and I just think that's to me that's a finite point, but it's a real good point of attack where we know there are conservative voters. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me we should be able to reason. The Republican Party should be able to reason with them way ahead of reasoning by converting a Democrat. Follow me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So out there in radio and podcast land, that should be your charter in your hometown, is to see if and there's any damage being done, and if it is, try to rectify it.
Absolutely.
And you should use the Tea Party as your model of what can be done when you work together. It wasn't easy, as anybody knows from what the Tea Party went through.
Absolutely.
The Republicans didn't exactly welcome them in.
Nope.
And it took a long time to gain their confidence. And it's not done, it's still not done nationwide in all instances.
That's correct.
But I will tell you this, the closer they get to the Tea Party principles, the closer they get to winning their race. Mm-hmm. The Tea Party principles are the most in touch with Trump base.
Yeah.
That's all. That's sort of the only way I know to say it. Mm-hmm. But the Tea Party never gets any mention because it got a bad rap. But the principles are there.
That's right.
So the job is to hold up those principles and expand them. And please, if Surefire, you are on fire tonight. Try to find the humor. Mm-hmm. Look for the humor. Read between the lines. I mean, don't. I mean, your immediate reaction may be when you read something like, "Oh, what a dumbass." But then get over that and point and laugh at it. I mean,
That's
right.
Right.
How can anybody get out there and jump up and down and raise their arms? We're not quitting. We didn't quit when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor. We're not quitting. Dude.
Was that the lady
Take his mic.
in Georgia?
No, this was
some other
guy on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying,
That's pretty funny.
It's not a standalone situation. It just happened to be the only one I had time to read.
Sure.
Maybe we should create a book of those clips.
Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be fun.
That would be good.
Good idea. Mm-hmm. We've enjoyed it. Don't let them get to you. Remember, 2-year temper tantrum. Rut-row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.